Welcome back to another video, and in today's video, we're going to be doing my NFL head coach tier list. Before we get into today's video, I just want to say thank you guys so much for hitting 300 subscribers. We are officially on the road to 400 subscribers. The growth has been amazing, and it's all thanks to you guys. So if you guys, thank you to everyone who has subscribed, and if you're not subscribed, I appreciate you watching my content, but if you could, subscribing would be amazing. And I realized that we did, our quarterbacks, we did the running backs, we did the wide receivers. We never did a head coach tier list. So that's what we're doing today. Head coach tier list. At the top, we have the elite head coaches. Below that, we have the very good head coaches. Below that, we have the decent head coaches. Below that, we have the not ideal head coaches. And below that, we have the coaches that should be fired. I know that this list, there's some coaches that are fired and that aren't in this league anymore. And we will take care of that. But for now, we're going to do it based on these guys. So, let's get into the video again. Thank you guys so much for 300 subscribers. I'm officially on the road to 400. We're trying to hit 400 before the end of February. So, let's see if we can do it. So, the first coach we're going to be rating is Andy Reid. Andy Reid's elite. One of the best head coaches ever in this game. Just an absolute mastermind. I mean, even without Patrick Mahomes, he was still amazing. I mean, just an amazing head coach. I feel like the best head coaches are those former NFL players, but I mean, he's just he's such a smart head coach. Big IQ on him. I'm saying he's elite. Next up, we have Arthur Smith. You know what? Decent. I'll say he's decent because he took a Falcons team that I thought was going to be terrible and gave them, I think, 7 wins. So that in itself, I think, is a big W for the Falcons, and I think he deserves respect there. Bill Belichick. I mean, we got the first. I'm not gonna actually. We'll rank these fine. Bill Belichick's the best head coach of all time, and I don't care if right now the Patriots aren't playing that good. Based on this career, I mean, he's not going to be passed unless Andy Reid somehow wins like 3 or 4 more rings. Bill Belichick's never going to be passed to the best. He's the best head coach of all time. There's nobody else to say. Belichick's amazing. Brandon Staley, I mean, he hasn't gone fired, but I still think he's not ideal. I think he needs to prove himself that he's actually a good head coach. Because right now, he really should be fired realistically, even though he hasn't been. But I'm going to say not ideal because I see the Chargers' intentions, but if next year he does bad as well, it's all Staley's fault. It just shows that they basically got rid of everyone else but Staley, and because I thought Staley wasn't the problem, we're going to see if Staley was or wasn't the problem this next year. Next up, we have, oh my god, like, why am I just kept, Brian DeBull. I almost forgot his name. Elite. Bro, this year, he took the Giants to a playoff winning record after they had nothing, and he has been a mastermind. In my opinion, coach of the year, pretty easily. He's an amazing head coach. Really good defensively, and he carried an offense whose best wide receiver target was Isaiah Hodgins to a decently producing offense. So that in itself has got to be elite. Bruce Arians, he's not a head coach anymore. I'm gonna place him for Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles, I think he's not ideal. I really do. I think I'll put him ahead of Staley, but I think there's definitely better options. And now that Tom Brady is retired, I really think that the Bucs are going to struggle, and they need really a head coach to help them out. Dan Campbell, I think he's very, very good. I think it's the way that he coaches that is very, very good. I mean, when you watch him, he's super risky as a coach. He'll go on 4th down no matter what, and I like that. That is a good coach. Being risky, he's also a very, very supportive coach. You can tell that he actually wants to play good. He's very good. Next up, we have Dennis Allen. I think he's just decent. I don't think he's ever the greatest ever, but he gets the Saints to a consistent record. And for replacement from Sean Payton, it is a downgrade, but he hasn't been terrible. Next up, we have I'm forgetting all the head coaches right now. Oh my goodness, I can't remember his name. It's the Jaguars coach. I don't know his name. I should know his name. I should know his name. You know what? I'm just gonna say Jaguars coach. I know his name. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. He was very, very good this year. Not as good as Dan Campbell, but honestly, go to Jacksonville and make them the top person in the AFC South. Get them past the first round into the quarterfinal, face the Chiefs. That's a W in itself. Honestly, Doug Peterson, amazing. Finally remember his name. Frank Reich. I believe he is taking on the role for the Carolina Panthers head coach. So technically, although he's not with the Colts, I can still rate him. So I say not ideal, but I actually think he's not a bad coach. I think he got in a bad circumstance with the Colts. I think with a new new situation. I always liked his coaching techniques, and I think with the Carolina Panthers, if he's a, we'll see if he's a decent head coach pretty quickly, because I actually think he is. Next up, we have John Harbaugh. Yeah, I think he's got to be a lead as well. I think he goes right there. I think just those are like the top three coaches because like they've just done so much with their organization. I think John Harbaugh, although he makes some bad decisions sometimes, you have to get rid of those bad decisions for how good the Ravens have been every single year. Josh McDaniels, I don't like him at all. Is he he might be fired. He's close to being fired, honestly. Um, this is close. He's close to being fired. He's not good. I did not like him this year. Honestly, I'm gonna say he should be fired. He did bad this year. He did not look good. And although they kind of started to look better at the end of the year, I still don't feel like he did that good this year. Next up, we have Kevin O'Connell. I really like him as a coach. I think he's very, very good. I think he's at the bottom. But I think what the thing about Kevin O'Connell is I wish he was a bit more of a defensive coach. I think that would really, really help them. But they also did just get Brian Flores, so that will help as well. But amazing offense. I mean, the Vikings were insane this year offensively, and they took them to a 12, with actually 13-win team. So I think he's got to be very good. Next up, we have Kevin Stefanski. I think he's just about decent. I think he's ahead of Dennis Allen, but I think he's about middle of the road. He's fine. He's nothing crazy, but he does work. He's not terrible. Next up, we have Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, he was fired, so I can just put him at fired, right? I mean, I don't even know who the new Arizona head coach is right now, currently. So we're just gonna put him fired. Next up, we have Kyle Shanahan. He's my coach, but I really do think he's elite. I think he's right. I think based on right now how he's playing, I think he's better than John Harbaugh. I think he's gonna go right there. Just an amazing head coach. I mean, he brought Brock Purdy, who was the last pick in the draft, gave him some help, and made the Niners go on a 10-game winning streak at the end of the year to get them into the number 2 seed. That and enough should be amazing because they lost their first quarterback, they lost their second quarterback, and Kyle Shanahan faced that adversity and went crazy. And I think he deserves it. Next up, we have Lovie Smith. He isn't the head coach anymore, so we can just put him in fire because, again, he isn't the head coach. It's my defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans, which I think he'll actually do quite well there. Next up, we have, is this Jeff Saturday? Or am I just weird? Like who's the head coach for the Colts right now? I don't know. Is it Jeff Saturday? Is that his name? Oh, I don't know. I should know who this is. I should. I'm gonna say I don't know who it is. I do not know who this is. Comment down below who that is. I'm just gonna say fire because I don't know who it is, but I might be wrong. Next up, we have Matt LaFleur. I think this year was a bit of a down year, but I still think he's a very good head coach. I think I'll put him at the bottom, but I really do think he's a good head coach, and we're gonna see if not having Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers is most likely not going to be on the Packers next year. We'll see if that makes him a difference, but Matt LaFleur, I think, is still a really good head coach. Matt Rhule, I mean, he was fired, so we can just put him there. Mike McCarthy. This is a hard one to be because he makes some really bad decisions. He still is decent though. I think he's at the bottom of decent, but I think he's decent. I think they definitely could use a new head coach, and I don't think he's ideal at all. But I will say he always gets the Cowboys to the playoffs, although he makes some really dumb decisions in those playoff circumstances. So, to me, I think he's just about middle of the road. Next up, we have Mike McCarthy. No, it's not Mike McDaniels. He's very, very good. I think he honestly deserves to be like right top, honestly. He was amazing this year for the Dolphins. I know this at the end of the year was kind of a downgrade, but start of the year, man, he fixed Tua into being a top 5 quarterback at the start of the year. Not about how the end of the year went, but yeah, I think he's very good. Mike Tomlin, he's one of the best coaches, head coaches of all time. I think if you had to put a top 3, right now, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, and Tomlin are those top 3 teams. Just amazing. Like, what else can you say? Next up, we have Mike Vrabel, another elite coach. We're getting into the elite frame. I think he's better than Dable this year. Well, not this year, but like overall. Better than John. I think he's not better than Shanahan based on how he went this year, but I think he's a very good head coach. I think again, kind of like Dan Campbell, he's risky, but he also has really good play calls, not like Mike McCarthy. And I think he's an amazing head coach. Nathaniel Hackett, I mean, he got fired, but it was his fault, so I got him and fired. Nick Sirianni is amazing. This year he was amazing. I think he deserves to be better than Brian DeBall, better than John Harbaugh. I think if you talk about overall, I think he goes right there. And I like him. I think this year he's up here. But we're looking at overall wise, he's got to go there because I think these 5 head coaches ahead of him have done better for a long period of time. If he keeps this up, though, he's going to go way higher. Pete Carroll, I mean, I'm going to put him very, very good because, like, he has had, where did I just put him? I put him there. He has had some amazing success, but right now he's not as good anymore. And I feel like he's just getting older, so he just doesn't know how to call plays. He's not in that new generation of football that he needs to get into. Robert Saleh, honestly, I love him. He's just decent right now. I loved him in San Francisco, but I think he's just around there. He's just about middle of the pack. He took a Jets team almost to the playoffs, so you gotta give him some credit for that. But I think he needs to make the Jets a playoff team in order to put him higher. Next up, we have Ron Rivera. I think he's not ideal. This year was a weird year for him. I think he's better than Staley, though, and Arians, and Reich, honestly. But the thing I don't like about how Rivera played this year is, for some reason, he just made Carson Wentz starting quarterback at the end of the year when Heineke was just so much better. He's been making some weird decisions. McDermott, I don't know where to put Sean McDermott. I think he's elite, and I think he's like here. I think he's right there. He's an amazing head coach, and honestly, Sean McVay, he's got to be here. He's fourth. So many elite head coaches, but honestly, it's kind of what it is. And the final one we're gonna be rating is Zach Taylor, and I think he's very, very good. I think he deserves to be ahead of LaFleur, ahead of O'Connell, ahead of all these, and I think even ahead of Dan Campbell. I think he's right there. Just, I mean, he's making that offense so good, and honestly, might not be all him, but I think he's a big part of it. And that's the end of my tier list. If you guys see this tier list, I mean, a lot of elite head coaches are in the league. Also, a lot of fire head coaches. But that's the end of my tier list. If you guys like the tier list, really like and subscribe to the channel. We are currently at 303 subscribers, and we're on the road to 400. So again, thank you guys so much for 300 subscribers. And see you guys in the next one. Peace!